Belize. Don't let its diminutive size fool you. It's the size of Massachusetts, but it packs a continent's worth of awesomeness within its tiny borders. And just offshore, the largest coral reef in the entire Western Hemisphere. Belize's pure concentrated diversity of both the land and its inhabitants. A reminder that you don't always have to exhaust days of travel to experience a truly wild, exotic adventure. I'm here to meet its people, their proud storied history, and the creatures that share its landscape. And I know I'm getting closer when the plains keep getting smaller and smaller. So join me as I savor the exotic flavors of this fascinating country. But remember, everybody's taste is different. I got dibs on the butt.
My name is Nick Lucy. I'm a diver, and I travel the globe in search of marine encounters, adventure, and a cold beverage. Join me as we go into the drink.
Staking its claim in the southeastern quadrant of the Yucatan Peninsula, Belize straddles the Western Hemisphere's most megalithic barrier reef. In the far north of the country, dangling just below Mexico, lies Ambergris Key, a 25-mile-long island that's the nation's largest. Ambergris is really quaint and quirky. But truth be told, I didn't just come here for the sightseeing. I came here to get wet. Color me jaded, but all too often returning to a destination is marked by the melancholy discovery that the place simply ain't what it used to be years ago. Memories can sometimes seem brighter, and there's an assumption that the world is becoming a little more run down, a little more polluted, a little less pristine. Divers are often guilty of this level of pessimism. The reefs in nearly any given dive destination seem less alive than in years past. But judging by the coral heads in the Holchan Marine Reserve, they're obviously doing something right. I was stoked to return to Belize after a nearly decade-long hiatus to find the diving better than I remembered it. This marine reserve is a 4,500-acre sanctuary that began as a break in the reef where fishermen clean their catch and has blossomed into the country's main dive attraction. It's a place where the marine life isn't even remotely afraid of you. In fact, it'll get right up in your grill. 25 years of protection have conditioned the fish to know that they're not in danger of getting hooked or speared. And they'll approach you like puppies looking to get their bellies scratched. Holchan isn't one of those parks that exists solely on paper, delineated only by dotted lines on a map. Looking at the quantity and size of the fish life, such as grouper, it seems to be working. It's a special place where the sanctity of the marine environment is taken very seriously, and more importantly, enforced by an army of park rangers. Maybe this is why my expectations have been blown away. I find myself transported back to my sunny rose-colored memories, where the reefs are lusher, the fish are more numerous, and the day just seems a little sunnier. It would seem that this little corner of Belize, at least for me, has made the concept of time travel possible. And all I can think about is what my children and my children's children will find when they visit these places. How will their experiences truly compare with mine and their own? Will Holchan and the other marine reserves remain showcases of man's desire to protect his planet or exercises in futility? Do we have the discipline to stay the course? Only time will tell. Now, I know the Mayans were way ahead of their time and all. Still, it amazes me that there are folks out there who would take their ancient prognostications seriously and believe the world would end with a gripping fear that couldn't be vanquished by a boatload of conquistadors. I meet up with Ramon, a real-life descendant of the Maya, who shows me around the ruins.
So we're standing at the highest point in the ruins. I assume this is the most important building.
Well, yes, they used to think this was the most important building at that time when archaeologists discovered these other smaller buildings to the bottom, to the east, those are the temples, which they discovered an important burial tomb of a ruler. And along with that ruler, they discovered two skulls. So that shows that he was very important.
So you tell me that now after we climb all the way up here.
Well, you are the ruler. That's the highest point you get, you become more.
They no doubt had an uncanny grasp on astronomy, mathematics, and architecture. This towering pyramid was built more than 1,200 years ago, but remained the tallest man-made structure in the nation until just a few decades ago.
I've been to Chichen Itza, I've been to Tikal, Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras. Belize isn't a place that you particularly associate with the Mayans, but there was a large Mayan presence here, wasn't there?
Yes, there is a large Mayan presence, and we still do have 3 Mayan groups in Belize. Yucachi Maya, Yucatec Maya, and the Mopan Maya. Most in the southern part of Belize is where most of these people are located. So, Xunantunich is one of the sites here in Belize that was located more in the river because it used to control people going on the river, because paying their taxes and the view of the area. So they could have seen the people passing by, because at the time of the ancient Mayan people there was less jungle. So people used to clear the land. The land was good for farming, and that's the reason they built in most of these areas. But by the river, because of the going up and down the rivers, that was the highways.
It's funny, but you'll often hear people ask, if the Maya were so advanced, why aren't they still around? Well, guess what, Indiana Jones? They are still around and make up a very vibrant and colorful part of the Central American culture. They're your hotel concierge, your tour guide, and the friendly faces you'll see all over Belize. When you walk around the grounds at Xunantunich, there's no mistaking that this is a solemn, spiritual place.
So it was a military base and a tax center.
Well,
death and taxes, right? They had them both covered.
Most of the cities also, yes, they had collected taxes. They have evidence that these people, they discovered these offerings, or these people that used to come and pay taxes, not with money, but with other source of goods, their food, like grains and things like those. That's what they used to pay for taxes.
So we can take the elevator down, or what?
Oh yes, the elevator is right to the back here. We could, once you walk a little to the left-hand side, there's steps going down.
The once warring, aggressive Maya people are now the most gracious, docile, genteel folks you'll ever meet. And it seems incongruous that as a scuba diver, I'd find myself so drawn to these temple ruins, so far from the coast and the beautiful reefs of Belize. But to understand this nation, you must first understand its origins, and the Maya culture plays an inseparable role.
The folks at San Ignacio Hotel are nursing green iguanas back to health. I'm going to check out what they're doing here. They're doing some good work for the green iguanas, who I didn't even know were endangered, so I'm going to go check it out.
In Belize, even the hotels do their part to protect wildlife, the primary reason people come here in the first place. The San Ignacio Hotel puts its money where its mouth is. I meet Eddie, who manages the resort's iguana project. His mission, to revitalize Belize's iguana population and increase awareness about the overhunting of this threatened species.
I'm looking at the parts that they have. For example, the spines are sensitive. So whenever they go inside a hole, they know if it's too big, too small for them. The spines breaks off and it goes back depending how damaged it is. The tail, that's their defense mechanism. They whip with their tail, they balance by using the tail, and if you're pulling the tail too hard, or if any animal comes and grabs their tail, they lose it. It breaks off. It grows back, it takes at least 6 months up to 1 year, depending on heat, for it to go faster.
The flap of skin dangling beneath their chin is called the dewlap, and you can tell if they're pissed off or feeling a little aggressive if it's extended. They also use the dewlap like a solar panel to absorb heat on sunny days.
What happens is that once they're basking way up high, anything that passes above them, they can easily detect it. The reason why is that above their head, they have a little round circle right here, which is called their parietal eye. Parietal eye, or the third eye.
So they get psychic powers.
They do.
In Belize, they call iguanas bamboo chicken. The Mayas hunted and consumed iguanas, so it became a tradition. But like anything, people have abused that tradition and overhunted them into danger, with some people catching 50 or even 100 at a time.
You know you wouldn't be here right now if you weren't so tasty.
It would be one thing if overhunting was the only threat to iguanas, but they are perhaps most threatened by the destruction of their natural habitat, jungle riverbanks, and pollution is also a major factor. Eddie takes me to the incubation area, where the eggs require about 3 weeks at a temperature of between 85 and 95 degrees to hatch.
It's really amazing, that from this little egg, okay, about 10 to 11 inches it comes out because it's really thin and the baby's all curled inside.
A female can lay anywhere from 20 to 60 eggs at a time.
Can I plant him?
Yeah, you can plant him right here. You can feel that the soil is a little bit warm.
Yeah.
Then we cover it back.
Nice and warm. Now how long will that be there?
Okay, we estimate that it will be about 3 weeks more because they'll soon hatch. Okay, now 2 weeks, 1 week more, this will be full of eggs and the babies will soon start popping out of the soil.
The young iguanas are raised in the conservatory for 2 years before being released into the wild. They're set free before the heavy rains start to fall in June and immediately after the traditional iguana hunting season of March and April. Thanks to the efforts of Eddie and the Iguana Project, Belize's green iguanas now have a fighting chance for survival. Now, I'm in no rush to enter the hereafter, but I can never pass up an opportunity to float down a cool, lazy river on a hot Central American day. So I make a beeline to do some tubing at Caves Branch in central Belize. The cooling off part comes at the price of an hour-long hike, and I grab an inner tube and hard hat and meet up with our Maya guide to begin our journey into inner Earth. The ancient Maya believed that cave systems, particularly these ones in Belize, were the entrance to the underworld, which they called Xibalba. Now, I'll try not to get too morbid with all the myths about demons and human suffering and death. When you consider the scenery is thick jungle packed with a wild cast of characters, the trek is worth its weight in gold. The jaguar god of terrestrial fire is believed by many Maya experts to be the night sun, a shape taken by our star during its nightly journey through the underworld. And I consider this to be a fitting omen. And now, it's time to gain sustenance from the land.
Okay, what we have here is a termite's nest, okay? These termites here actually provide you with protein. And surprisingly, it has a minted taste to it.
Are they low carb?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Put your finger right in where they're between. And you'll be dead if you're going to the rainforest.
Yeah. There we go.
Minty, right?
Like nature's Tic Tac.
Yep. Ready?
Minty fresh.
Now that I've protein loaded, it's time to go where the rubber meets the river and go with the flow. The drill is simple. Hike to the cliff, jump in, and leave your cares behind. Let the gentle current do all the heavy lifting as it carries you into the inky darkness. Your headlamp illuminates the way atop the tequila-clear water to see stalactites, stalagmites, and the occasional furry bat. It's not grueling by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a must-see for any Belize vacation.
So, even though these caves weren't man-made, how did they get here?
Marine life, corals, conch shells is what created these limestones here. That's why it's easily carved and porous. They say that it was part of a major barrier reef system.
So we're tubing through an ancient coral reef.
Yeah, we could put it that way. In fact, this cave system here was said to be used by the Mayas from about 200 to about 300 AD. They never did inhabit the caves, but they used it for ceremonial purposes. The cave were known to be the entrance of the underworld. You look straight in there, all you see is going into darkness. And this is what signified to them as the entrance to the underworld, because from here, they can't see nothing else but darkness. The underworld was 9 layers of evil and disease that they would have to fight, which in layman terms, we call it hell. So after today, you could tell your folks you went to hell and you came back.
Now, I'm not going to be stockpiling weapons or building an underground bunker anytime soon, but it is definitely intriguing to think about the ancient Mayas' end-of-the-world theories. And if that's the case, I can't help but feel, after all that I've seen and done in this fascinating Central American country, that I'm a little better prepared to meet my maker and scratch a couple more things off my bucket list in the process.
Into the drink, baby.
The Western Hemisphere's longest barrier reef again pulls me away from dry land, and I can't help but give in to its gravity. Ambergris is perched on the edge of this enormous reef, so in no time I'm beneath the gentle waves, soaking in all the beauty. The undulating seagrass in the shallows gives way to colorful reefs and dramatic drop-offs. There are several cuts in the reef here, meaning bigger critters from deeper water can move freely into and out of the shallows. New divers might be sketched out about being swarmed by sharks, but here in Holchan, they're mostly nurse sharks, a species that's more common than timeshare salesmen, and more harmless too. Nurse sharks are shallow bottom dwellers that range from Rhode Island to Brazil, and can be spotted throughout the Caribbean. Typically nocturnal animals that spend their days hiding in crevices or under ledges, the nurse sharks of Holchan are very accustomed to human interaction. They've become so used to handouts that they're not afraid to throw their weight around, trying to get you to donate a meal. Despite the fact that the nurse sharks won't hurt you, there's a real sense of adventure here. And in my opinion, the diving here is as good as any you'll experience in the Caribbean. It's great to see that the marine park protection is paying off with such abundance. Simply put, Holchan has it all. Stingrays, turtles, seahorses, lobsters, eels are all a dime a dozen. It's like diving in an aquarium. And once you dive here, you realize the people responsible for protecting this very special reef are doing something right. Once again, this country proves that they know how to preserve the past while looking ahead to the future. The world moves at breakneck speed, and sometimes you have to slow down and smell the roses, and taste the wine. Driving west out of Belize City, my guide tells me about a special vintage popular with locals that's made from cashews, and I'm immediately intrigued.
What you're looking at here is the birch of a cashew nut in process, or the fruit of the cashew. Here is the finished product of Mother Nature. So this nut, the acid is so strong that if I break this, it would actually blister.
He says that they collect the nut from the fruit and then roast it. The remaining pulp is squeezed to produce a juice that goes into making the cashew wine.
Now I love cashew nuts, but I can't really imagine drinking it. What does it taste like?
It's very sweet, very delicious, very appetizing.
And the local nickname for cashew wine? Double Trouble.
Tomorrow morning, when you get up, you're feeling quite nice. You step into this beautiful tropical sun, and you start getting a second buzz, but with the hangover immediately behind.
Instant hair of the dog.
After witnessing the cashews in their raw state, it was time to head over to Traveler's Liquors, where the magic potion is poured into bottles. The distillery has been around since 1953, and Keith Flowers tells me they've been serving thirsty clients for the last half-century. They've diversified since then, and also produce rum, vodka, and liqueur. Now, I tasted one of the cashew fruits out in the fields, and you take a bite of it, and as soon as you bite into it, you're thirsty. It's like, it totally puckers you up.
At first, the first bite, it gives that tart taste, and then after that, it starts sweetening up in your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? It's very unique. Some people refer to it as a devil fruit. Right? They claim that it's one of the fruit that the nut grows on the outside, where you'll find that most fruit, the nut is in the inside of the fruit. This one, we have the nut on the outside.
What I find really interesting is you smell it and you think it's going to be a really scary drink. And you taste it and it's just sweet and smooth.
Yeah.
It's totally deceiving.
And that's what, again, I believe that's the reason why a lot of the locals go for it, because, the taste of it, and that aftertaste that you get into your mouth, it's a smooth drink. You know, it's not like, for most locals, I mean, if you'd offer them a bottle of, let's say, a high-class wine, a dinner wine, they would put that down and go for a cashew wine.
Once incredulous, I now see that this nutty booze is secretly ingrained into the culture of Belize. As they say, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's important for any business to know its customer, and I've got to tell you, they've made a new one out of me. Belize is one of those places where the line between ancient history and the here and now is completely blurred. Here, you walk among the ruins of an advanced civilization that was way ahead of its time and encounter their descendants who welcome you into their country with open arms. You enter an aquatic realm where generations past recognized the importance of preserving the nation's natural resources, leaving a legacy that thrives today because of it. Nearly every activity seems to be an exercise in channeling the Mayan gods, and you're constantly transitioning from broad daylight to the shadowy underworld. All that's old is new again, and nothing makes you feel younger and more alive than realizing that you are one with the past. And the future, it looks pretty bright.
This definitely doesn't suck.
Yeah. What's that?
Look, a wild Belizean mountain monkey. Walking through the forest, we see him in his natural habitat.
Where are you going? I'm going to Ambergris Key.
No, Nick. Where are you going?
I'm going to hell in a handbasket.
No, Nick. Where are you going?
I'm going crazy.
No, Nick. It starts with an I. Where are you going, Nick?
Insane.
No, Nick.
Okay.
Brandon, baby.
I'm going, oh, I know, I'm going into the drink.